Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan, and with me today is our Marvel Rivals and What If correspondent, Jack. All right, Jack.
Hey, I'm doing good. We're recording on the first day of 2025,
Yeah,
so
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and to everyone listening. Hopefully, 2025 has some good Marvel projects on the horizon, a few more than we had this last year with only one movie.
It's true.
So very exciting.
Yeah, it's look, I want to thank you for observing Eastern Standard Times New Year as well yesterday. Um but yeah, the 2025, a lot more on the calendar, right? We have Daredevil in March. We have Captain America in February. We have um, Fantastic Four in July. We have Thunderbolts in May. I believe Wonder Man and Ironheart premiere this year. In,
Yep.
in a couple days, we're supposed to have the new Spider Man cartoon kickoff. There's a lot to discuss this year, which will be very different from I think last year, but also like right now, if people are listening to this on the Marvel podcast feed that I have, I also share my DC Elseworlds podcast on there, and I've been pumping out episodes because there's been a lot to talk about. Marvel has been kind of on hiatus since Agatha, right? That we had Agatha, and then nothing until What If.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, we could get Blade this year, not, but
yeah,
I'm beginning to think we will never get Blade, but I hope that's wrong, because I would really like for that to happen and to not have another end credit scene go to waste. So,
yeah, yeah.
because
That's the
we've been waiting since 2021 for that resolution. So,
And 2019 is when they announced Blade
yeah,
on the San Diego Comic Con stage. So
yep. Hey, you know what? He Blade likes to stay hidden. And he
yeah,
sure is doing a good job being a Night Stalker there and staying hidden with that.
it's true. We did see Blade last year, Wesley Snipes Blade.
Yeah. And you know what? That line, "There's only ever gonna be one Blade," seems to be. That joke will age one of two ways, and both of them are equally funny. I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
so.
Okay, so we're gonna talk some Marvel Rivals to kick off the show here. A new game that's come out. It's probably the biggest Marvel thing that's happened since Agatha. Honestly, I've seen people
Probably.
talk about this game all over the place. Um, you and I just got done playing a couple rounds here, so but I know you're a big Rivals fan so far. You've been playing a lot.
Yeah, I think I have about 40 hours since it released about a month ago. It's been very, very fun. I've really enjoyed it. I've only played I want to say 15 to 16 of those actually in online matches that count towards anything. A lot of it has just been practicing and getting better to with each of the characters that I like using. And it's been a lot of fun, but it has been a big thing. The first 72 hours, they hit 20 million total players, which is incredible. Really, I don't think there's been many bigger game launches than that. At least that quickly. And the queue times have been 1 second most of the time. I'll click start match, and it'll just immediately throw me into one. And the heroes are all good. People have kind of observed everyone's kind of broken in their own way, which makes it sort of fun. And they've got a lot of new rumored heroes that are going to be joining in the next season, which is starting up in a week or so, I think, including all of the Fantastic Four. You've got Ultron. I think Blade is going to be in there as well. Um, I'm trying to think of who else they was rumored to join into it, but those are the ones that stand out to me. But personally, I've been playing a lot of Adam Warlock because no one else likes to heal in the game. I've been playing Doctor Strange, which I think people who have heard me on the podcast before know Doctor Strange is one of my favorite superheroes. And then Star Lord and Namor have been big ones too. I've really enjoyed playing with all of them. It feels like really satisfying when you play a character really well. Uh, and yeah, I mean it's been a lot of fun. Even in games where I'm just getting absolutely destroyed, it's still been super fun because the gameplay is addictive, the challenges are super fun, and I mean the maps feel like dynamic enough, you can break through parts of the map and actually destroy the environment, which is unlike other games like Overwatch or Overwatch 2 kind of promised that and it never materialized. So it's very cool to see this all coming together. And I'm very excited for the future of the game because it doesn't seem to be dying down, which is fantastic. And then finally, my last thought about this is it's introducing so many like more kind of niche characters that people maybe aren't aware of from the Marvel universe into, people like the popular lexicon of superheroes. Like, for example, Jeff the Landshark. Love him. Great little comic character. One of Kate Bishop's best friends in the comics, you could say. Really her pet. But like it's been really awesome to see, Jeff the Landshark get some more recognition overall. Cloak and Dagger, someone that not many people knew much about. You've got Squirrel Girl getting into there, which people really just knew she beat Thanos by herself
Mm-hmm.
once, and like was kind of just a meme at one point, but she's finally getting some love in there. You've got different variants of Iron Fist. It's not Danny Rand, it's Lin Lee instead of Danny Rand. So just a lot of cool characters that are getting a little bit of time in the spotlight that usually they wouldn't get that much of.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because like I saw the roster and I'm like, this is an interesting roster to start off the game, right?
Yeah,
Like you said, Fantastic Four not in it yet. They're coming. It is a free game as well for people that are maybe listening and haven't heard of it or played it. So you can download it on like your, I guess, PS5, Xbox, whatever they call it this time, because
Series X, yeah,
Series
uh,
X
and PC. Those are the
and
three
PC.
platforms it's on.
Yeah. So that is it is fun. I'll say the first time I played it, I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know if I was doing good. I didn't know if I was doing bad. I felt like I was just pressing buttons, and then it popped up like 5 KO streak. I was like, is that for me or is that somebody else doing that? Like, I don't know. Um, but my wife's watching, and she's like, I don't even know what you're doing, and I was like, neither do I. But I'll say today you did help me understand a little bit more about the game. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to play because so we played against the AI first, and I felt like that was fun. As soon as we went into the live matches, my son got very upset. My wife was sleeping. I'm playing. I'm watching him, and I was barely doing anything because I'm trying to calm him. I'm like moving so I don't get booted. I'm like firing with one hand, like buttons to try to calm him down and stuff. But uh, I think that is like if I was back in high school with this game, I feel like it probably been something I would like. This is the first time I've put on a game where I felt like I was too old and did not understand what I was doing. Like
You were
I
doing
remember
great. You were
showing
doing just fine. You were doing
I
just fine.
remember showing my dad games, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the first time I ever felt like that was playing this game. Um, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of moves going on as you're trying to see what you're doing. I'm not focusing a lot on my health. I'm looking at the opponent's health, so I'm like sometimes getting too wrapped up in this stuff. But you know, it's one of those things where if you don't have a lot of time, this may not be the game for you because like you can't pause it. Like that's the thing is like, of course, as soon as we get into the live environment is when my son is upset, and I'm like, I can't juggle both of this. But I mean, it was fun. It was fun. Is there any character that you've been playing as now that you're like maybe that's rising up the ranks of your favorites, or you're like maybe I should read more comics of that character?
I mean, Namor has been up there for sure, but I think like honestly, Adam Warlock, like I only really knew him as, Will Poulter from Where the Millers was what I was thinking of when I was watching him in Guardians
Yeah.
of the Galaxy 3. And, then I was like, okay, I think I started playing Rocket to start off with, and then I got into. I think I've played 7 games with him and lost all 7. So he was not. I was not good with him. My averages as that character really bad. Not the character for me. And I was like, okay, well, no one ever plays support, so I'd like to play another support. So I picked up Adam Warlock, and I did get to see a little bit more of him in the Guardians of the Galaxy game because I recently played that. And I kind of want to see more of him in comics, and read a little bit more of his stuff. It's kind of like how after I played Midnight Suns, I wanted to read a lot more, Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider,
Yeah.
and Magic comics because I loved those characters in that game. So it kind of reminds me of that where I'm like, discovering, like kind of rediscovering all of these characters because like I've heard of them before, and then just like seeing them in this whole new lens and being like, oh wait, these abilities are really cool. I wonder what the basis for that is in like the lore, the broader lore, because like Doctor Strange has his ultimate move which like releases everyone's souls using the Eye of Agamotto, and I'm like, oh okay, yeah, I know what that's about. I get that. But then you've got like Namor summoning like a giant whale using the horn of Protheus, and I'm like, I want to know what that's about. I want to know where that comes from because that's really cool. Or like it's just awesome to see some of that, and also to see a different kind, like different designs for some of these characters, right? Because the MCU has their own specific designs, and you can buy premium skins of the MCU characters
Oh,
for
can you?
some of these. Yeah, like you can buy Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Mantis,
Oh wow.
Groot, Rocket, Star Lord, and Adam Warlock, but they cost like $15 to get that, and it's like I don't really want to do that. And so seeing the comics designs or like comic inspired sort of designs for some of these characters has been really cool. Like it's weird kind of to see Peter Quill in this and see this interpretation of that character. Like but it is awesome. I really like it. So I've really been enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to play a lot more of it because I mean I've had way too much fun with it so far.
So out of the three, so you just got the console last year, 2024.
Yep.
You've played 3 Marvel games, right?
I'm trying. No, four technically,
What was the
because I
fourth one?
Miles Morales.
Oh yeah, okay. So out of the 4 you've played, what has been the one that you've enjoyed the most?
Midnight Suns is still number one for me. That one, I love turn-based games. Also, anyone who hasn't played it, it's currently on sale for like $10 on the
Hmm.
PlayStation Store. Definitely worth playing if you like any kind of strategy games, like I do. And also the characters are all awesome. Like seeing Avengers, X-Men, and the Midnight Suns all together in it is really cool. Feels like a comic book team up event. Then after that, I'd put Guardians of the Galaxy second. Great story, really great characters. I feel like I did actually cry because of the story at some points in that.
Hmm.
I was very emotional, very good. Uh, and then Marvel Rivals, mostly just because since it's an online game, sometimes it feels like, occasionally it'll be frustrating where I get killed from out of nowhere, and I'll be
Yep.
like, that's really annoying. And then Miles Morales is in last only because I don't know. I don't like. I feel like I don't like Spider-Man games as much. I can't
Mm.
get the hang of swinging ever. I've tried. I played the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 on the Wii and Wii U. I was terrible at swinging in those games then, and I'm terrible at swinging in them now. Uh, but it's also really short. Like I finished the game and the side missions in like 10 hours. So like
Yeah, it's not like a game. Like the way I would look at it is almost like a
feels more
like
like DLC like
yeah,
than
like
anything.
Uncharted kind of did one of these things too. The Lost Legacy, I think it was, where they did Chloe and somebody else, where it didn't follow Drake, Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Um, and that was kind of similar. It was like a lower cost by 10 to $20, and then shorter game. And really, what I think it was kind of like a bridge between. Definitely a bridge between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, and having like they already had the technology from like remastering Spider-Man 1, and they were had the technology from and the map from Spider-Man 1. So you're like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do something that we can do. Like you already have the character models, you already have all that stuff. It's probably really easy to make that game. Um, and then you can have like a small team working on that while like a bigger team is working on Spider-Man 2. Um, and you still probably make tons of money. And it was perfect. It was a launch game for the PS5. So my first games on PS5 were Astro's Playroom and Spider-Man Miles Morales. And that was like my first week of having the PS5 when it launched, was like, all right, I'm playing these games.
Yeah. I mean, Midnight Suns was that for me, and
Yeah.
yeah, it I'm glad it was because Midnight Suns is awesome. Still I think might have like broke its way into my top 10 video games
Ooh.
of all time because of that. Like it was just that good. I also have
High
like
praise.
I have like 90 hours in it, okay? Like I played a lot of it and I got the console in September. So that might
Yeah.
be a bit too much. But I love it.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on to What If Season 3. Um Jack, you are a resident um What If correspondent. You've been
Yep.
on for season 1 when we did it weekly. Season 2 did the same sort of drop that season 3 just did every single day. If we were more ambitious, we would have done episodes every single day
No, not over
discussing
the
the last.
holidays. Not over the
No,
holidays.
especially not over the holidays. But it's also very difficult. This was another one where like this season I was kind of like last season. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch these like every morning when I get up, and like I said the same thing about season 3. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Every morning I'll get up because I'll probably be up with the baby and I'll watch this. Didn't happen, especially around the holidays, and then they start piling up. They start piling up at a certain point. I watched the first one the day after it released, or the day it released, because they drop at like 3 a.m. So I probably watched it at like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., something like that. And then I did not watch them again until this week. So it was, and I get notifications on Twitter for Marvel. So they'll constantly be like, the new episode's dropping at 9 p.m. Pacific. And I'm like, yeah, if it was probably earlier, I think I could have probably fit it in at the night,
Mhm.
actually. Um, but with it being 3 a.m., I'm not sure why they were so committed to that when they're dropping like Skeleton Crew and Agatha at like 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't know why for animated shows they're continuing to just drop them at 3 a.m. Um, but that's what they're doing. Um, but yeah, so we had season 3. This is the final season.
Yeah, which is interesting. I feel like it's kind of sad because this could go on for like ever, right? It or maybe not forever because eventually they'd run out of like ideas, but like the possibilities are endless, and especially at I mean we'll probably get to this at the very last episode, right?
Are they
They sh-
endless? There's 26. It
yeah,
says
there's actually
26
26.
episodes.
Endless means
That's it.
26, by the way. But at the end of like the series they show like all of these different variants of characters that look awesome, and then you're like, where are they then? Like, where are these people? Like,
I
you
have
have,
a theory.
yeah,
I have a theory that this show was made to go as long as it could, and it just was not as popular.
dang,
Um,
that's unfortunate.
season one was 9 episodes. It was supposed to be 10, right? They were going to have, and then they moved that episode to season two. Um, and then season two moved an episode to season three, and that's the Red Guardian one.
Hmm.
But if you see, this season only has 8 episodes, while the first one was going to have 10, has nine. Season two has nine, was going to have 10. They moved one to this season. In my opinion, I felt like maybe they moved at least last season's episode to this one to be like, all right, we're going to remove one from season two. We're going to move it to season three. And then we're going to let you. Here's the thing, the finale is 2 parts,
Hmm.
right? So part of me is thinking that the 2 episodes they moved from season one and season two to the following season was like almost giving them enough time to be like, all right, now you get 2 episodes to wrap it up. You know
Maybe.
what I'm saying? It's kind of what it felt like. I mean, like you said, the show should be endless. It wasn't as popular, I don't think, because people had, I guess, very different ideas on it, and I think the show itself had very different ideas at times on what it wanted to be. I think if it had just been like a animated show that just did what if without Uatu interfering at all, we could have went on for quite a long time.
Hmm.
But when you start building in, so maybe this was the plan the whole time, and maybe I'm wrong, like a 3 season plan or whatever. But because we do get characters that show up again throughout the course of the run. Um, for whatever reason, they are very obsessed with Captain Carter. Um, we talked
Hey,
about that last year.
new marketable character. What do you mean?
She dies every time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's something that, like, I want to know if that was always the plan or if that is something that uh they were making season one and just kind of fell in love with working on her, that they're like, we gotta keep bringing her back because like season two, then as we talked about last year, what, they brought her back 2 or 3 times in that too, right? Because she was in like the 1700s episode or whatever,
She was in 3 episodes, I believe.
the 1400, and then the 2 part they have a 2 part finale then too.
Yeah, and then also there was also the what if Captain Carter Carter fought the Hydra Stomper, which
Oh,
was
that's
kind of
right,
like
the
the
sequel to
winners.
the first
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah, the sequel to the first one. And then you had the last two, the Avengers assembling in 1602, and then what if Strange Supreme intervened. I think those are the only ones she's in, those three.
three. Okay,
Yeah.
3 episodes. And then they bring her back again in this season for a good stretch as well.
Only for like 2 episodes though.
Is it
So
just
like
the two?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just the two. Yeah, she's not in any of the other ones, so you just get her in the finale ones, which I feel like is fine. She kind of ended up being like one of the figureheads of the series, so
Yeah.
it it makes sense to wrap up that story. I guess like
I felt
I
like she was wrapped up though. Like I guess that's the thing is like
Jordan, they could market her more though. What do you mean? There was a chance to sell more toys and more merchandise. So of course they needed her in the finale.
I
Come
feel like
on.
that'd make more sense if there was actually toys of her out. Like I feel like there's not a lot of like what if
They made yeah,
toys.
they made some Lego ones. I don't have the Captain Carter one actually. Oof. Well,
Oh, is
not
that like
that
the
fun.
blind box one? I think
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have her. I have
Oh,
her in
okay. Yeah, I have Goliath, which hey, you know what? I'm happy this series has given us
more Goliath.
more comic accurate Goliath. Like, yeah, we got him in Ant-Man 2 or Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Barely.
but
Yeah.
he wasn't actually Goliath. He never went big. Come on. Like he was just there. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne was great, sure, but he wasn't really Goliath because he was normal size the whole time. He talked about going big one time, and that was it. They made a joke out of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted more Goliath. So I'm happy we got him, like we got him twice throughout these episodes. I'm happy with that.
yeah. Because he was in the
He was in the Peter Quill episode from last season.
yeah, yeah,
And then he was in one of my favorites from this season. What if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier?
yes.
I think actually, what were your three favorite episodes from this season?
Three favorites. Um,
Doesn't have to be in any specific order.
I think my three favorites would. Oh, what if Howard the Duck got hitched?
That
That's a
that was
hot take,
I
by the
I thought
way.
it was nice to get more Howard the Duck. Although as I texted you, all I could hear, because I recently replayed the Mass Effect trilogy, was Joker. That's all I could hear from Mass Effect. Every time I heard Seth Green, I was like, I'm back on the Normandy again. So that
It's better than hearing Chris Griffin. So I mean,
is that who he plays him too?
yeah, yeah, he does
What?
Chris
I
Griffin's
I
voice.
had no idea about that.
You didn't
Okay,
know
no, I had
that?
no idea about that.
I did really like What If the Red Guardian Stopped the Winter Soldier. That's probably my favorite of the season. Which is funny because that's the one everybody points to say like, "Oh, this is so creative," and I'm like, you know what? That one was,
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it. Um, and was like really the actual like what if of the season.
yeah. I mean, it's one of them. I feel like
I mean, yeah, I guess like what would you say is the other one?
the
What if the
emergence destroyed.
emergence?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would probably be the third one for me.
yeah. For me, I agree with you on two of them. I think the highlight, like, was what if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier. I thought that was great. It also was awesome that we got all of the actual voice cast for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We had Sebastian Stan, we had David Harbour, we had Lawrence Fishburne. Everyone who played like a character in it, was like in live action, was voicing them in this, and that was awesome. And also great, like, what if scenario. Like, I think it matches pretty well. I really like it. The only thing I didn't like about it was the gag at the end, where like he was with the Avengers at the Battle of New York, because
Oh, I like that.
I feel like it would have played out a little bit differently, if that had happened, right? But you know, that would have been an entire other episode. My second favorite is what if the emergence destroyed the Earth. I think it was great. I think seeing um, Riri Williams in this, like, being just awesome, was great. Getting to see some other great characters in this too, like getting to see some more Juan, great stuff. Uh, and uh, and also number three, I mean also the final scene, the final battle between Ironheart and Mysterio was awesome. Also, that episode gave me really strong, like, Dune vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely felt like a lot like Dune, for just because um the Mysterio kind of felt like the bad guy in there, in Dune as well. Baron von Harkonnen definitely felt a lot like him. And then my third favorite, which might be a surprise, might not, even though I think it's not really a strong what if story, like it's not really a change of anything, but what if 1872? Because Kate Bishop is one of my favorite comic characters. So that was really awesome to see her. Uh, and also getting Shang-Chi in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people were like upset, like, oh, they wasted the Hood. Calm down. The Hood's gonna be in Ironheart later this year. It'll be fine. It's a one-off little story about superheroes in the Wild West. Just enjoy it. The Hood will be back, I'm sure. Don't don't worry too much about it. So I think I loved that one. I thought it was great. Also, Sonny Birch. That was wild. Like,
Yeah.
like I was like, the guy from Ant-Man and the Wasp. What? But hey, he was. he was like a legitimately menacing villain. Like the monologue in there,
Mm-hmm.
that was wild. Uh, I think there were some other good episodes too. Like I think What If Agatha Went to Hollywood was pretty cool. I liked it. I liked seeing Kingo get to be in there a little bit more, getting to see a little bit more Agatha Harkness, and also Howard Stark in that was phenomenal. I don't know who voiced him, but
Dominic Cooper. He played him in First Avenger.
oh, okay. I mean, just a great job, fantastic job, really. And also Jarvis was great in it too. I really liked that one. Uh, there, I also didn't mind the Howard the Duck one. What if Howard the Duck got hitched? Good, great cameos, just great cameos throughout it. Like it just felt like kind of like a little treat for comic book
Right,
fans.
right. It was
You
just
know?
like a fun one where everybody's chasing this egg. Like I think that was another one that people were targeting at. Like, what is this? I do think the show needs to be better at. Well, it can't. It's over. But I mean, like, need it to
Yeah.
be better at like when something is a sequel of something. I don't know. Like maybe I missed it, but like I felt like I had to look up which episode this was a sequel to
Oh, okay. I
because
I
I couldn't
remember I
remember it.
remembered it, but
It's
that
from season one when Thor
yeah.
is partying, right? Like, um, I totally forgot Darcy and Howard got together in that, and they just start off together, and I'm like, did I miss them getting together? Like, I had to look it up. It's been 3 years
Yeah.
since that episode. I haven't really revisited it. But there were some times where like I felt like they are good at that. I think it was like one of the ones last season where they're like, so after this event happened, and it
Mhm.
like shows like quick scenes of like the first episodes, or like now we catch up with them at this point, and I felt like that was a good thing. I feel like they didn't do that in this one, but yeah, I mean, like you said, you see like Thanos coming after him, right? Um, you see the Grandmaster, and yeah, Josh Brolin was actually back as Thanos in that
Yeah.
one. We had
You had Caecilius. Like what
yes,
that was wild.
you
Like
had
I
Coulson back.
yeah.
It was great.
You had Yondu in it too. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh voiced by
Ebony
Michael
Maw.
Rooker too. Like and Dormammu appearing. Like
Yes.
just and Zeus was in it. Like just wild. Like just how many characters like were just and wait and Malekith from Thor: The Dark World. Like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
just so many random appearances. It felt like, and it was just great. I thought it was just really awesome to see randomly all of these characters just pop in, and it was just like, oh, I remember them from that movie. I remember them from that movie. Which I know some people kind of are critical of, but whatever. I thought it was good.
I mean, that is what it is, right? I mean, that's what if is.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's whatever.
it is. It's like constant callbacks to random events. It's like, hey, remember this part of the story? What if that was slightly different?
Right.
And then it's like, yeah, let's go. Although, like some of them, like, what if the Hulk fought the Mech Avengers? What was the what if? Like, what was different? Like, I don't.
The whole world was different, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just like I don't remember like what the event was that spawned all this happening. I
it looks
remember,
like I think it was like the Hulk is like Bruce is trying to get rid of him with gamma radiation and accidentally creates the apex um from Hulk.
yeah, but like
That's
when
the what if. That's it. Like he
what
he tries to get him out and then it actually makes him worse and that's it.
was that from the first Hulk movie that he tried to do that? Is that
I think it's no, I that's the thing. I think it's just like he did this some point after events. I don't know. Like you're right. There's no like
Yeah, because
this happened at this point,
the one
but
thing I could think of is like the part that kind of like turns him into Smart Hulk, right? But that happens sometime between Infinity War and Endgame, in which case, I mean,
I mean, because the whole thing is different, right? Because like Bruce becomes friends with
Sam.
Sam the
It
same way that Steve did.
yeah, and like but also like because if it's in that time frame then Sam wouldn't have been Sam wouldn't have been there, right? Because he would have been snapped. Monica wouldn't have been there. She would have been gone.
I think this is like Thanos never came at all. This is
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I thought like the art style was kind of cool. I think the concept was cool at times,
the
but
opening was really cool, where it looked like
yeah,
a cartoon, like a '80s cartoon.
yeah.
Yeah,
There
that's
there were
really what
some
it
cool
was.
parts, but it just felt a little bit. I don't know. That one was probably my least favorite of
It was
the.
a really weak way to start off the season.
Yeah, but the good news is it got better from there. So I feel like pretty much every episode after that was like an enjoyable enough time. Like I had fun watching each of those other episodes, like uh I feel like yeah, I feel like there weren't it's a little unfortunate because I think I've enjoyed like pretty much every single episode that's been put out in this series except for that one. Like I think everything else was pretty strong except for that one. But, you know,
I mean, that Red Guardian episode was apparently written in 2020 by AC Bradley.
you know what? It paid off. 4 years of writing, good work.
Yeah, it was like because she had left. AC Bradley left at the end of season 2, so that
Right.
one was just written and I guess sitting. That's how long it took them to make it because they pushed it from season 2, which was it takes about 2 years for this to happen. You know, like 2022 is when the show started getting worked on for this season.
Yeah. I think, like most of these episodes were pretty good overall, but the finale I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it, especially like also fun little callbacks in this thing. Like there was references to Reed Richards in it, so that was kind of fun. Uh
Somebody he saves is one of right.
yeah, he saved Reed Richards from what? We may never know. That would be hilarious if like it happens. I mean, hilarious and also kind of disappointing if it happens in like the Fantastic Four
Movie.
movie, right? Like
Like the Watcher just saves them to get them into the MCU from their
yeah,
other universe.
imagine that's what happens. Like I mean, hey, it would set up Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars pretty
Yeah,
well. Uh it would set it up nicely, but still, I feel like
it'd be a
crap.
little Deus Ex Machina
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. Just a little bit.
Uh, the finale was all right for me. Like I think one part I didn't like about it was is it in the final episode when they have like a 10-minute fight scene without any talking?
I okay, I really enjoyed that part. But yes,
Oh,
is
that I lost it at that point. It's just like I don't know. Sometimes it can be cool watching fight scenes, but like at times I felt like I'm just like it was going on too long for me. I think at that point I was like, all right, like if we're not actually gonna have dialogue that kind of moves it forward a bit during the fight, I was a little
yeah,
like
I will
it's going
say
on a
like
little too
the
long.
the end sort of like the end resolution of this, right? So Captain Carter, like, I mean, we should have.
Kahori,
I mean,
Birdie,
yeah, we should have said this earlier, but spoilers, right? We've already
yeah,
spoiled
yeah.
the entire season, uh, but like, I mean, it's just like Captain Carter, the other Watchers, so the what is it? The Eminence, and do we ever get the names for the other two? Oh,
I
here it says it here. The Incarnate and the
oh,
Executioner.
Executioner, yeah.
Like they're about to like they're erasing them from like all existences, right? Like
Hmm.
that which I don't know, kind of a threatening concept, kind of like real threatening concept. And then Captain Carter just says no and then just reverses it and sacrifices herself, sends everyone to Strange Supreme's universe that he's like recreating and creates all the rules for, and strips the other Watchers of their power. Which like I don't know, it feels a little hand wavy. Like how does that all
Hmm.
happen? But
Here's my biggest
you
issue
know,
with
like
it. I think the Strange Supreme stuff worked fine in that. It's like, oh, okay, it's a friend that they're dealing with, and that he has right. I think that's fine. Captain Carter just saying no and somehow reversing it. I was like, how does she have the power to do this? That was my biggest thing.
the explanation that I could think of is Watu gives all of the that team like the abilities of a
They're the
watcher,
Watchers. Yeah.
which like that like I guess that could be plausible enough. It's just sort of like how does Strange Supreme's consciousness of the universe know that like that's what he needs to do? That's like I don't know. Maybe there's probably an explanation in there somewhere, but
What if
and
it's
then
like he yeah, I guess you're right. Cause I was thinking maybe he just had it where none of the Watchers have powers there
maybe like
because he didn't want people interfering with
yeah,
his world, but
but then also like just after that happens, they're all of a sudden like, oh yeah, now I want to learn, and it's like
yeah.
really that's all that's what it took. I guess it kind of makes sense. They don't have powers, like, but still like. I don't know. I am happy that in the finale we got more of Kahori because she was
Yeah.
great.
That's my favorite episode of the show still. Just like
Also,
overall.
yeah, and also seeing Storm wielding
Hmm.
Mjolnir, super awesome. And also getting the actual like voice actress that's been voicing her
The
since like
90s.
X-Men 90 like the original X-Men animated series
Yep.
and in X-Men 97 and just like it was awesome to see it felt like very true to like Storm's character in general, just all of it. And seeing Infinity Ultron still and like knowing that he's this like super powerful being and then he rescues them uh from the dimension for the Watchers, right? And they destroy him. And you're like, "Oh my god, wait, this was the most powerful guy in the universe originally."
Yep.
That immediately solidifies them as like a huge threat, I feel like. So that part felt pretty cool. Um and yeah, I mean this finale was pretty good, but as you kind of told me, it feels like this show was more meant to be like a story about Watu than like than
Then an
a,
actual what
yeah,
if.
than
Yeah.
actually what if, right? So like in that respect, great show. Great show. Uh
Yeah.
but in like the respect of like what everyone was thinking when the show was released and like thinking, oh, they're going to go through all of these different possibilities, not as great of a show of that, right?
And
It's
that's on Marvel. Right? That's
yeah.
on Marvel Studios for calling it what if. Of course that makes people think it's going to be like the comics what if. But as we go through the 3 seasons, it is really just the story of Watu where he is not interfering, and then he eventually does, and then he gets the team together, and then those are the people he keeps going back to when he has issues.
Hmm.
I would actually maybe have liked to see more of the original team because they only bring back Captain Carter all the time for the
Yeah.
Guardians of the Multiverse, right? Like, where's T'Challa Star Lord? I know, like Chadwick passed away, but I mean, you could show him without him speaking.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like that's probably why they didn't have him in there, just because of that, and like out
yeah,
of respect for his character, because that seems to be like how Marvel is approaching his character, which is a little bit of a sad thing, but also kind of
Yeah.
understandable. And then I mean, but also the only child Thor or party Thor, whatever you want to call him, uh, the Killmonger that rescued Tony Stark,
Hmm.
uh, Gladiator, Gamora, um, like yeah, there's a lot more that they potentially could have brought into this. But like I get why Strange Supreme isn't there because
He's dead.
yeah, his well, he's not. His
Well,
consciousness is just
yeah,
immune.
yeah.
So
And
he's
he does show up. He shows up in the cloud, in the
that
sky.
is true.
He's the
He was
stars.
there.
Yeah.
So hey, you know what? I think Doctor Strange might be one of the only other characters that appears in all
Every
three
season.
seasons.
Yeah.
Yep. Strange Supreme, I think, is the only other character besides Watu and Captain Carter that appear in every single season of the show. So you know what, Doctor Strange fans, we take that as a win.
Yeah. Eating good, huh?
Yeah. Even
Um,
even though it got lower, like the presence got smaller and smaller as it went along, but it was there.
they kept saying like season 3 and 2 we're gonna have more of the phase 4 characters, and they really didn't. Like, of course, more than season 1, definitely, but I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
eh, I think they did more or less do that.
it depends on what I mean. Okay, so like episode 1, right? We have Moon Knight and Shang-Chi in there for like 5 seconds. They
And
barely do
also
anything.
Sam Wilson as Captain America, and also
Yeah,
Monica Rambeau.
but he's also a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 guy.
You
Sam.
also do have Monica Rambeau in there,
Yeah.
and you've got Red Guardian for a little bit, for I mean more than a little bit in there, uh, you know, so you definitely have like a little like yes, there's a lot of Phase 4 in there. I feel like, and then Episode 2, you've got Kingo and Agatha, who are
Hmm.
both Phase 4. I'll say Phase 4/5, right? Then
The Emergence has
episode
focus
three
on
has
them.
episode three has Red Guardian, which is about it. Honestly, I mean, I guess Dreykov, if you want to count him as like a Phase 4 villain, you know. Uh, yeah, episode 4 felt more like looking back than anything. Episode 5 definitely had a lot because you had Ironheart, you had Mysterio, which technically is Phase 4, right? Is Far From Home Phase 4, or is that still Phase 3?
That was phase 3. It was
Okay,
the capper of the saga.
right. Okay. And then I mean, if you want to count Sharon Carter as the power broker as Phase 4, you kind of could.
I guess we could.
Uh,
It just gets like, yeah, some of those are. I don't know. I felt like what I thought when we were getting more phase 4 and phase 5 stuff would be like what ifs based on those movies, and instead it's just
okay.
those characters showing up in the most random ass ways, you know?
Hey, Episode 6 is pretty much all Phase 4.
Yeah, but it's
Everyone
in
in there.
1872, right?
You've
Like,
got
that's
Shang-Chi, you have Kate Bishop, you have John Walker in it even. John Walker's in there for like 10 seconds. Uh, and then you've got an original Iron Fist, and then you've got the Hood played by uh is it Jai right?
yeah.
And then I mean the only the only one from the original three phases is Sonny Birch.
Yeah.
There you go. That's kind of based off of it, not really. Um, that's about as close as we got to that. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot more they could have done with this. I feel like some of the episode ideas that people were like, "Oh, I don't get why they never did this." I don't know. I don't think they would have been as interesting as people would have thought. Like the whole they're like the very first episode should have been what if the other half got snapped, and it's like I mean, sure, it could be a little interesting, but you know they're going to fail. Otherwise, all of the lore set up in those movies goes away. And then you're reversing a lot of stuff at all
Yeah.
at once with that. Like, right? They have to fail. There because this is the only universe in which the snap doesn't happen in this way, right? Like, uh, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have been as interesting as people would think. It seems like a great idea in concept, but when you think about all of the implications of it, of like, oh, Strange literally says there is one possibility in which this works, which means we saw the one possibility in which it works. So you know it's just going to end in failure, which could be interesting again, but I just don't know if it really is. Uh, yeah, I feel like it. There's a lot of people who are like, this needed to be an episode, but nothing really. I mean, like, there's plenty. There was plenty of fun stuff throughout this series overall. I feel like everyone who was complaining about they've never done anything to address the giant eternal or not eternal
Mm.
celestial coming out of the
Celestial,
earth.
yeah.
Hey, you got an entire episode about the emergence actually happening. There you go. You got your wish, right? That's what they wanted, right? They totally wanted more Eternals content. They definitely didn't want to just complain to complain, right? That's
Yep.
totally what they wanted. Uh, so I feel like there was at least enough fun stuff to make this a fun like few seasons that like there's definitely a few episodes of this that I'll go back to and rewatch. I probably won't rewatch the entire series again, but there are definitely a few episodes that I know for sure I'm going to go back to.
Yeah, I can think of at least two or three off the top of my head that I like. The Doctor Strange one from season one and the Kahori from season two. Those are two of my favorites. And then probably, maybe the Christmas one from last season as well
I
is
did
another one.
watch the Christmas one.
You did for Christmas?
Yeah. So along with the Guardians holiday special, that one, uh, that one's a fun time. I feel like, and also I definitely would rewatch episode 2 from season 2, Peter Quill attacking
Oh
Earth's
yeah, I
mightiest
like that
heroes.
one a lot. Yeah.
That one was awesome. Just seeing
I thought 1602 was fun last year as well.
1602 was awesome too, and like I said, I like 1872. That one was great. I don't know what the fascination is with 2 in this, all of the years.
Yeah.
You got 1602, 1872, but like some really genuinely interesting concepts in this season. I just feel like they could have made like addressed it a little bit more to be like, oh, by the way, this show is really about the Watcher. That's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, fine, makes sense then.
Yeah, yeah, like when you're doing and I don't mean like in commercials and stuff, but like when you're doing those conventions and you're like, we're doing what if? And it's gonna be about endless
People are
possibilities.
expecting
No,
something a little different.
no. Be like, we're doing what if, and we're gonna be focusing on Uatu, the Watcher, and his journey of should he interfere or not. And then that gives you more on like, okay, so it's not just about the endless stuff that people can be like, what if this? What if that? It's about the Watcher. Cool.
Yeah,
I think that would have helped a little bit. I also think most of the people that complain uh, haven't watched the show. I do think that, like, or watched some episodes and then said it's not for me. But it's like, okay, that's not for you then. Like, I think a lot of times when people will be like, here's better episode titles or whatever, you can come up with an episode title, but it's like, do you have the episode after
yeah,
that? Right? Like, I can come up with some what ifs that I think would be interesting. Um, I used to be one of those that say, give us what if the other half snapped. And then you start thinking about it and you're like, is there actually anything there? Probably not. And there it is, right? Like, I can come up with probably like a cool what if right now. And then when it's time to write it, be like, oh, maybe that's not actually an idea. So I do think that's probably tough as well. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's
yeah,
probably a ton of episodes that I'm going to guess that there were probably double the amount of ideas,
oh yeah, they
right?
probably
At
pitched a
least.
bunch and then sit down to write and like,
Yeah, and then they're
no.
like, this doesn't really actually have anything to it. And like, I mean, I think while some of the episode concepts are a little silly, they get to really interesting things in the universe. Like, what if Agatha went to Hollywood? You're thinking that doesn't seem that
Oh, she
relevant or
takes a road
interesting.
trip. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
and it's like, but then with the context of like Agatha all along and everything like that, right? You see like how she was present through all of these moments in like history and everything, and like trying to do all these rituals to get more power and everything and all of that. And then it suddenly makes sense, and you're like, oh, wow, this is actually really interesting how this is being used. And uh, I mean, I think it was really awesome to bring in like the Eternals into this and bring all of that lore over into it. And I think it was really cool. And also like, like getting to see more Howard Stark, like, because let's be real, Howard Stark would totally do something like this. If I mean, it's a little out of the time, right? Like it's a little too early for him to be an adult doing stuff like this, right? But you can't tell me that if he was around in the 1920s, he wouldn't be funding the most ridiculous movies and trying to be an innovator in that
Hmm.
field, right? Like that would totally be something he would be doing. Uh, yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot, and like, some of these episodes you're watching it, and I remember when they unveiled the titles and everything, and people were freaking out about like, oh, these episode titles sound stupid. What is that even supposed to mean? And it's like, all right, well, why don't we be a little patient? You're patient, and I mean, these titles, like, yeah, maybe they don't sound that engaging right away, but then you get into them, and then all of a sudden it unveils something cool about the world that you hadn't thought about for a while.
Yeah, I think I remember sending you the titles and you were like, I don't know if I'm interested in any of these.
Yeah, I did. I did. I was one of those people, and I was like, I don't know if these seem that interesting. And then I gave it a shot. They ended up being interesting, and I mean, like, you can't really judge a book by its title a lot of the times, or its cover. But you know the the title sounded a little strange, but then you watch it, ends up being kind of cool.
So I do think this season was probably my least favorite of the three. I think I don't know, I think season one might be my favorite still. I really enjoyed season two as well. Like looking at these titles and remembering these episodes, I forget where I kind of landed on it last year when we talked about. I should have re-listened to the podcast and been like, did I say season one or two was better last year? But um, yeah, like I do think this is probably my least favorite, and I do think they kind of got screwed here by a lot of the delays because we just don't have the affinity for these characters the way that we did for phase 1 through 3. We had been living with those characters since 2008 by the time 2021 came around. And like you said, we actually did get a lot more phase 4 than I thought in this. And some of those what if scenarios or like characters have only been in one movie. Shang-Chi has only been in one movie still somehow.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we're getting him in some episodes of this show, but like for some people, that's just not going to hit because they haven't seen him as much. Or characters like Kate Bishop and such that are maybe that's why they leaned on Captain Carter at times. They're like, this is somebody we know, and people are familiar with her. Also, I know there was a rumor going around of like what Natasha Lyonne is going to be in Fantastic Four, and people are like, "Oh, I wonder if she'll be Birdie." I can guarantee probably 100% that she is not going to be Birdie in Fantastic Four, and if she is, then Marvel has really lost the plot, thinking people are watching season 3 of this TV show in animation form and just going to be like clapping when she shows up in the movie. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, unless if they fully say who she is without needing any sort of background, uh, that could work. But if they're saying if they show her in Fantastic Four as you should know who this is, people will just be like, "What am I watching?" Um, and that can hurt. That can hurt the MCU in that regard. I think Fantastic Four is going to be very standalone enough where that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah,
But
I don't think she's
she's
going
probably
to.
voicing a robot or some CG character. It's probably nothing.
Yeah. Also, like Birdie's busy, dude. She's watching
She's a
over the.
watcher.
Yeah, she's a watcher. Like,
But what if
what do
she's
you?
the watcher that saves Reed?
Could you could you imagine? That's just what happens. You just see a wing come out of the sky and like
First we
put
get
it.
a female Silver Surfer. Now we get a female
Oh
watcher.
my God, they're all the worst fans would be so upset over it. I kind of want it to happen just for that reason, kind of, but also like I don't know. I don't think they're actually going to do that.
No,
But I it would be a little funny, just a little bit. Uh, but yeah, I liked her in this. I
I
thought
thought
the
she's
character
fine.
was
Yeah,
fun. I thought it was a fun character to see. Like
she's very
that.
hated online for some reason. I don't understand,
Well,
but
she committed the cardinal sin of, according to several of the worst kinds of fans, of the fact that she's a woman. So you have to remember,
true.
there are too many people who think that. But I think it was great. What If is really cool because we got a ton of original characters that like they're probably not going to be all around like in the movies and everything like that, right? But they're
They
cool characters,
they
right?
don't
Like,
have to be like I do
yeah,
think like this is a thing that for some reason is breaking people's brains for whatever reason where I just keep seeing this. I was just watching I was on Twitter and Skeleton Crew, the new Star Wars show. Fairly standalone,
mhm,
by the way. Um very good, very 1980s, Goonies esque show in a Star Wars universe. And people put out a poll that was like, will Mando and Grogu show up in Skeleton Crew's episode 6? And I'm like, I retweeted it on the Pod Awakens account and was like, it's okay to have things disconnected. It's
yeah,
okay. I know we're in Star Wars is in a shared universe, Marvel's in a shared universe, all that kind of stuff. Well, we don't need these people to show up in every project. And then the person responded being like, it's just a fun fan poll. And I'm like, I got it. I voted in it. I voted no, but like I voted in it. And it was not directed at them. It was directed at just like, I've seen this sentiment so many times of like, is Hondo Anaka going to show up in Skeleton Crew? Is Mando and Grogu going to show up? How about Luke Skywalker? Is he going to show up in Skeleton? They don't need to. It's just a fun standalone story. You don't need to always have this connection to the larger mythos. What If is fun because it's what if possibilities. We don't need to see those characters pop up in Secret Wars.
yeah.
You
Except
know,
maybe as like a short cameo, right? Like,
right, like
maybe
out of
have
the
them.
portal.
Yeah, maybe
Okay,
have them pop up for like a second, right? And then that's fine. It can be like a fun little reference for anyone who watched the show, right? Like,
yeah,
but there's like so many different universes that exist in this show that they've like just manufactured, and they don't all need to exist in them, right? Like, they
yeah,
don't. The only one of these characters that's crossed over into live action was Captain Carter,
And it wasn't
and
even the same Captain
it was a
Carter.
different one. Yeah, because that Captain Carter is dead and cut in half. So like it would be a bit of an issue for the watcher then if the character he
Yeah.
relies on, if the person he relies on most is you know,
He goes to her world to try to bring her recruiter, and she's just like cut in half. And he's
yeah,
like,
like
"Oh damn! I should have kept an eye on this one."
yeah, I should have been watching. Uh, uh, but yeah, like that's it. That's the only character who's been like in the broader universe. And guess what? I don't think there's going to be many others that cross over. If any other ones do, I hope it's Kahori. That's it. That's all I'll
Yeah,
say.
and even
Uh,
then, it doesn't have to be the same cohort.
yeah,
Like
that's the point. There's
exactly.
like there's several universes of these characters, right? Like there's hundreds of thousands of unlimited universes. So perfectly fine if a version of them shows up, but just as long as they're not like the biggest, like the main part that's driving the plot forward, right?
And
Like,
if they're like, "Hey, remember that time we teamed up in 1602?" and you're like, people will be lost in the
yeah,
audience. What are they talking about?
yeah, but like I feel like if they do it kind of like how Multiverse of Madness handled it,
Yeah,
where it's like a quick thing where it's like, oh yeah, from What If, like where it doesn't require the audience to have to like know all of that about What If. It's just like, oh cool, they're bringing this person into live action.
I got two more things to talk about with this before we wrap it up. Before I forget, one is very hypocritical of the other watchers to be like, we don't interfere, but we're actually going to remove these people from the timeline in every single timeline they're in.
Yeah. Hello,
That's
that's
interfering,
yeah, that's interfering.
but you left me
That
no
is,
choice because you interfered.
and it's like, okay, so this yeah, like I don't know. What if one of them's an anchor bean, huh? Did they ever think of that?
Then it just wipes that world clean. Guess what?
Yeah.
Uatu shouldn't have gotten involved.
Yep.
That's not my fault. It's his fault. That's how they.
I
It's
I think
very hypocritical.
I think to a certain extent that like them being hypocritical is kind of the point at the same
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
I think so too.
Like where none of like what they're actually saying, their oaths actually make sense. And I think that's kind of like I think it is kind of entertaining to see that, right? Like to see this sort of thing. And but yeah, no, they're definitely hypocrites. They definitely are. Everything they're doing, like because also in taking Watu away from watching, is that not also intervention by itself? Uh,
Yeah,
but and also if they've known about him intervening all these times, why didn't they do it earlier? You know why? Like they said he intervened like 70 times or something like that. Like so you know the breaking point was number 70, right? Like that's the
yeah.
one. That's the one.
They have a rule 69. Nice.
Yep. Yep.
Cannot go above that number.
70? Yep. No, you ruined it. You ruined the joke. And now you're
It's like
going to die.
demerits. It's like
Yep.
demerits, right? Like you can have a few, but once we hit a certain number,
Yep.
you're fired.
You're done. Yeah. It's just I yeah, they're I don't know. The Watchers are kind of silly little guys, you know. They're just up there thinking like, "Oh, we just watch." And also, I also think it is really funny and could be taken as light political commentary if you really want to take it that
Mhm.
way, of like where they're like, we're just supposed to watch and not supposed to have an opinion about it. We can just watch and not form a my like a viewpoint about it. And it's like, no, you can't. If you're engaging with something and watching it, you're going to have a viewpoint on it. Whether
Right.
or not it's extreme or moderate, that's up to you. But there is no such thing as the absence of a viewpoint on something. You can't. Even if you say, I don't know, I didn't know what to think about it. Guess what? You made a viewpoint on it.
Right.
So
You're undecided.
yeah, it seems it. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking way too deep into it, but
I mean,
co-
it's probably
yeah, comics and superhero media are tend to be kind of political at the
right.
end of the day. I mean, so I
And
wouldn't
like
wouldn't
like
doubt
you
it.
said, it's like um not interfering is kind of picking a side at times, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy is getting absolutely his ass kicked. I'm not going to interfere. Like, you just talk about your normal life. Imagine that somebody saying, "Why didn't you help him?" I'm just a watcher,
Yeah,
right?
it reminds me of the John Mulaney bit. I was over on the bench.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was over on the bench.
So it's
Like
like you're making a choice, and what Watu's point is, if we're watching and we have the power to interfere and make a difference, then we are just as bad as the people doing the other thing if we just watch. Like, we have to help. We have
yeah.
the power to. Um, the other thing I really want to talk about is because I saw a lot of misinformation online about this, because guess what? Because I didn't watch them timely, people were spoiling stuff that happened. And they were like, Captain Carter destroyed Kang the Conqueror. Um, and the Council of Kangs from the Quantumania credit scene. That's what people were saying. And you watch the episode, and all she does is show up in the time chair,
Yeah.
which any of other Kang she could have defeated. It doesn't have
There
to be the full council.
she travels through the multiverse, stopping like multiversal threats. Right?
Right.
Like that's her whole shtick. That's it. Like, and you're like, oh, that's how Marvel's getting rid of the Council of Kangs. And it's like, I don't think so. I feel like
This
they're
final season started in 2022. They started working on
yeah,
these. That's before Quantumania even came out and the whole Jonathan Majors stuff happened. This
yeah.
is just, they were like, hey, we have the chair. We'll show her arrive in it. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, like it without if that didn't happen, right? If none of that happened, everyone would just take that and say, "Oh, it's like a cool little reference."
Yeah, she defeated a Kang and took
Yeah,
his chair, not every single Kang.
yeah. Like what? Like I don't get where they were reaching from somewhere in the multiverse to find that, and uh, they everyone who criticized that and were like, "This confirms it," is like, can you like get
Those are the
any media
people that
literacy?
don't watch the show. Those are the people that don't watch the show. They see an
Yeah.
account say that and they're like, didn't they kill him off in the cartoon and we're supposed to know that going in? This is too much homework. And it's like that none of that happened.
No. It's just a time chair. Just calm down. It's just a little reference. That's it.
Yes. That's it.
Just like people who were mad about like, "Oh, the hood shouldn't have been this, the hood should have been that." It's like, "All right, calm
This
down."
is one guy who called himself the Hood in 1872.
Yeah. That's it. That
That's it. That's as far as it
also
goes.
also people being like, "Oh, because they're showing this Iron Fist, that means they're canceling Danny Rand." And it's like, "No. Just why would it have made sense for Danny Rand to exist in 1872? And also, they call him an Iron Fist as a throwaway at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I thought that
Like,
was going to be a big part of it, and then I get to the end, and it's like, that's it. I was like,
yeah,
what are people
they're
upset
like,
about?
this kid's got some Iron Fists on him. And it's like,
Yeah.
they're replacing Danny Rand. And it's like, no, calm down. It's fine.
You know what, though? That line there is like the quintessential, like, if you were watching like Smallville on the CW back in the early 2000s when they had to be very loose with interpretations of characters. Just like, that guy has some sort of Iron Fist, and they'd be like, oh, that's our Iron Fist version of this show. All right. Like, that's how you had to take that stuff
Yeah.
back then. But nowadays, we get all those characters, in every single medium. The fact that we even had an Iron Fist show at some point is remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't get why people just like to freak out over nothing on the internet. Like that's it. They they like to freak out over random things. It'll be like about the hood, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, they wasted this character." And it's like, "No. This is a
Yeah.
different universe. The hood is going to be an Ironheart, which I'm sure you're going to watch, right? Since you care so much about the
About
hood."
the Hood.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's your
right? So
favorite guy.
you're going to watch it, right? And they won't watch it. But
There's a lot of people that get upset for no reason. I was just talking about this on Elseworlds. I saw people complain about Jason Momoa being cast as Lobo in Supergirl because they were like, he was just Aquaman in the other universe. Can't we get some new faces? I'm like, this is like the only guy that's been recast. Like, what are you talking about? And then they were upset a few months ago that Superman didn't have an A-lister. But now you're upset Supergirl does have an A-lister. I am just like, pick a lane on what you
Also,
want.
Superman does have an A-lister. Like Nicholas Hoult is
He's getting
like,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's had a great year. Like he's probably pretty close to that at this point.
He's the
Like,
biggest star in that. And
yeah,
Rachel Brosnahan right underneath of that.
yeah, like calm down a little bit. But just like, yeah, I thought this was a fun little show that showed some cool little possibilities, introduced some fun characters, brought back characters that otherwise we know we're never gonna see again, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the odds actually that Sonny Birch will come back in a meaningful role in an MCU movie in the near future?
People
I'm gonna
thought he was gonna be like the guy who bought Avengers Tower at some point.
I I mean, we already know who bought Avengers Tower, I
Now we
think, at
do.
this point. Yeah.
Now we do. Now.
So, yeah. So, like, you know, like, or like Caecilius. We're not getting
Right.
Caecilius back,
Right. Yeah.
right? He's dead. He is dead. And like, there's so many characters where it's just like, or Mysterio, right?
Yeah.
Mysterio is dead, presumably. Maybe it was an illusion. Who knows? He could still be alive, but we're probably not going to see too much of him in the near future again.
No.
And so it was kind of cool to see this different version of him where he like succeeds in taking over using illusions and everything.
And he
Like,
uses vision and stuff like that's
yeah, like
cool.
that's a really cool thing, right? Like, uh, I don't know. I thought it was really cool because you just know half of these characters we're not going to see again. Like, we're not going to see Thanos again, probably. So it was fun to see. I mean,
There's rumors. There's rumors he's coming in Secret Wars.
no, please, no, don't do it. Uh, I mean, I say that, but Robert Downey Jr. is coming back into the MCU, so who knows? I guess, right?
As a
Like,
different character.
yeah. Although I still think the memes are funny of people saying like Doctor Doom be like, "I hate you 3000." It's like I don't think that's gonna happen, but man, it's funny. It's really funny.
All right. Anything else about What If season 3, the final season?
I mean, I thought it was great. I agree. It's not as good as the other two seasons. I think the other two are definitely like a step above, and this one's a little bit lower down on there, but it still had great moments that I really enjoyed throughout. Uh, I do agree they probably could have done better with defining what this show was from the start, but you know, I still had a fun enough time with it, and I feel like with shows like this, that's all it's kind of meant to be, right? It's not
Yeah, it's a
meant to
little
be. It's not
tiding
meant.
you over
Yeah,
until the next thing.
it's just a fun little thing with a cool animation style, with cool references and callbacks, and introducing characters that you probably wouldn't see that much of otherwise. It's just fun, and that's what it needed to be. If you go into this show and are like, I just want to have fun watching some weird little stories like that, obviously they're not going to make a full movie out of,
Right.
right? Like they're not going to make a full movie about Howard the Duck and Darcy and raising their first child. That's coming to Disney Plus in 2026, obviously. But
Yeah, straight to streaming.
yep. But like it's just fun to see weird little parts of this universe that could exist, but obviously they're not going to spend $300 million to make a full movie out of it.
Right. All right. Well, that will wrap us up on What If. We still have zombies coming out at some point
Oh yeah,
based
that's
off of
right.
What If. So
Based
that
off of
that
what if
happens at some point.
from yeah, I thought that was supposed to come out like this past year, but
I think it's 2025, I guess.
isn't it
I don't
only
know.
it's I thought it was only like 4 episodes. It can't be. Whatever. We'll see. I didn't think there was that much left of that story to tell, but I suppose there was enough. because you had like 3 survivors left in the entire
Well,
world.
they're gonna focus on different characters too.
Oh, okay.
Like they'll have Katie, Red Guardian, Shang-Chi, Wanda, Jimmy Woo, Yelena, Kate Bishop, Riri, Kamala Khan, and that's it, I guess.
Okay. I mean, if it's like the similar animation style to What If, right? I really like
Yeah.
this animation style.
Oh, it comes out October 3rd
Of okay.
of this year.
I mean, that kind of makes sense around Halloween
Yeah.
for some of that. Yeah, sure. Sure. That'll be a fun time.
Yes, that'll come out in October. So, hey, that might be a good one for you to come back on. Talk about
Yeah.
zombies.
Lots more animation stuff from Marvel, which
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see more Marvel Studios animation because it's been pretty good so far. I've liked what they've animated, and I'm excited. I mean, I'm waiting for that second season of X-Men '97.
Yeah.
Like that'll be good. I'm excited for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Me too. A lot. That's everybody's moved on to hating that one from What If already. I've seen that. I think the animation looks cool in Your Friendly Neighborhood
It
Spider-Man.
looks like a comic book come to life.
Yes.
It looks like a comic book come to life. I mean, people need to have more fun, in my opinion. Like we could all do with a little bit less hating in 2025 and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more fun having.
It's a
You
new
know?
year. Less
Yeah.
hate.
Yeah. Just a little bit less. Just have more fun. Just try and enjoy some things. I promise you, if you go in with the attitude of, hey, this could be a little fun, it'll be a little fun.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I mean, it could. Right. Like, if you go in looking for stuff to hate, you will find stuff to hate.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah. So that'll wrap us up on What If here. All of our social medias are in the links in the description of the video below if you're watching on YouTube, and are also on the show notes if you're listening on your podcast app. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, you can follow us there. Like I mentioned, I also put the Elseworlds episodes on this feed, so you have that going on as we are talking James Gunn's Creature Commandos until January 9th. And then looking ahead to Superman in July. On this show, like I said, we have Captain America coming up, we have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man coming up, and we have Daredevil coming up. So we got a lot of stuff coming at you before we even get to July when Fantastic Four drops. And then we also have over on the Pod Awakens our Skeleton Crew recaps for Star Wars, and starting in early February, our Bad Batch binge, where my friend Logan joins us to watch the cartoons for the first time. Some more animation. If you like talking about this animation, Star Wars animation is very, very good as well. But thank you all for watching and listening along, and we will catch you next time.